Now, in this divine design, as we recognized a little while ago, we need to consider something of really drawing near to God. That is the first step. We don't need to be worried or concerned or troubled about the various aspects of the fulfillment. We can trust God for that if we function correctly. We can learn to so center, so trust, that we can function in the substitute factors that are necessary to us for the time being, and we can help others to do so with understanding, moving constantly toward the reality of the divine design. And to achieve this, we need to draw near unto God. We need to draw near unto God. We recall that the word that is usually spoken, Jehovah, is the name of the body of God made manifest. In other words, God in action on earth. To whatever degree God was able to act on earth in and through the children of Israel, there was the manifestation of what is commonly called Jehovah. You know that that is not the correct pronunciation of the word, but we use the common word when we do not have the right vibrational factors, or when we are building for the right vibrational factors for the real word. And again, that's a substitute pattern. All symbols are substitute patterns. The whole pattern of the Bible is dealing with substitute patterns, which we can use correctly in order to reach the real. And here is another. Jehovah. That's a substitute pronunciation in order to avoid using the right pronunciation until the right time. The same is true, as we recall, with the word Jesus. Jesus is not the right way to speak the name, but it's a substitute pattern, a very good one. And we use it. Jehovah, then, remember, means not God in the invisible sense, but invisible God made manifest through man, in action on earth, whatever that may be. Jehovah is God in manifest action on earth. The manifestation through our Lord when he was on earth was a revelation of Jehovah, in which he invited us to share. We, when we say we want to be members of the Christ body, or long to be, or working to be members of the one Christ body, members of the body of Jehovah. Jehovah on earth made manifest. And so any human being anywhere who actually begins to let deity manifest is in fact letting the reality of Jehovah be made manifest. Jehovah will not come into full manifestation until all the men and women, children living on earth are a part of the body of God, in fact. Jehovah manifest. The body of mankind, completely centered, completely activated by God. And so when we use the expression Jehovah, or the real word, the real name, we are not talking about God in the invisible. We're talking about God in these visible realms. God made manifest through all who serve him. God brought to focus and given meaning on earth by those who serve him. And when we use the name Jesus, what do we mean, actually? We mean the centering of the manifest body of Jehovah. The centering of the manifest body of Jehovah. Jesus isn't in heaven in the invisible sense. If Jesus, the name of the body of our Lord, is to have any reality, it must be here on earth. He had a body on earth. That body ascended, and it is not the same body. It isn't in the same form. And that body was to continue as the body of many members. So the centering aspect of Jehovah has been called Jesus Christ. But Jesus, in this sense, is not in heaven, never was, never will be. That is, separated from the earth. But heaven at hand, on earth, yes. Heaven on earth, where there is the union of heaven and earth. Then we have Jesus, that is, the centering of mankind in the manifestation of Jehovah. So, we need to begin to recall and remember clearly the significance of some of these things that we have meditated upon before. And remembering, we will not be trying to make something fit where it does not. We'll be able to let it be in its proper place. And when we begin to work in this vibrational sphere of drawing near unto God, we will not be trying to make ourselves be in something that either doesn't exist or where it won't work. Centered in the centering of the body, centered in Jesus, if you want to put it that way. But the name Jesus applied to the body, but the true name applied to the centering of the body of Jehovah. And the angel said, "Thou shalt call his name Emmanuel, for he shall save his people from their sins." Emmanuel, there's another name upon which we have not given meditation before. For he shall save his people from their sins. Emmanuel is what then? It is the saving force of the central pattern of being. The force which takes unto itself that which belongs to itself, by which we become members of the one body, not scattered pieces of a body. Sometimes we hear of some gruesome murder or something where the hands or fingers and arms and various parts of the body were cut off, scattered about. Well, that's a gruesome thing. It's no good. And yet human beings imagine that they can be segregated like that and be a body. They can't. What we are working for is the opposite of that. All parts in place, living, real, vital, beautiful, glorious. And as we relax then in the realization of that which is signified, or the reality of the substitute name Jesus, the centering, the body of the centering, Jehovah, the working power, Emmanuel, Shekinah. What is it that blends all of these things together and allows the reality of deity to work on earth? And his name shall be Shekinah, for he shall save his people from their sins, from their wrong actions, wrong patterns of life, to draw them into the divine design. And as we begin to let these things have meaning in ourselves, we can begin to use the sacred names, the true names, with understanding and with meaning, with utter reverence. For if God, or the focalization of deity, is accepting us into His body, that means we are accepting Him into our body. The wonderful symbolism of the sex organs of the male and the female, revealing exactly what must take place in our patterns of relationship with God. How, as we receive God, God receives us into Himself, we must receive Him into ourselves. Union, sex, in the heavenly, divine, and sacred sense. And received into that pattern of union, we begin to realize that we must invite it. Just stop and look for a moment, even in the world in its limited state. If a girl in this country particularly, or in the so-called free world, doesn't particularly have any attraction, feel any attraction toward a certain man, and she doesn't indicate any interest, she doesn't do anything about it, she more or less attempts to keep out of his way and to ignore him, how likely is she to become that man's wife? You ladies know that if a girl's going to get married, she has to do something about it. She has to indicate some interest. She may pull a little trick of, well, you know, I don't have to describe it. Maybe I shouldn't describe it. Plenty of little tricks for the female, yes, all right. We mustn't display all of them. Anyway, she's going to do something about it. She's going to be attractive, but maybe not too attractive too fast if she's dealing with an ordinary male critter of the human race, but she wants to develop it on a basis so that when it does happen, she will have the upper thumb. Because she doesn't really trust him, she just wants him. Of course, that's supposed to be marriage, but in any case, if the female wants to enter into this pattern with some particular male, she has to do something about it, generally speaking. Well, now how much more so should we do something about entering into union with God? If we're going to play coy too hard and too long, play hard to get too long. Well, the ladies play hard to get for a while, but not too long. They're smart if they want to follow out the world's pattern of marriage. But why should we keep on playing hard to get with God? You know, we're not dealing with an ordinary man. We're dealing with God. We can trust Him. We can just open our hearts to Him. Say, Lord, here I am. Why play hard to get? Why not be honest with Him? In our body here, in the outer sense, the body of mankind is supposed to be the bride, to make herself ready for the bridegroom, ready to receive the positive reality of God into manifestation, into the body. If we are being received by God, then we must receive God into ourselves. Union, the reality of union. And once we begin to see that and accept the beauty and the wonder of God's design on that basis, we do not confuse sex and imagine it as just the physical relationships of physical bodies. The physical relationship, the physical body can have its part and place. But it's more than that. It is God in action in us. And once we begin to truly reach that point of accepting the reality of union with God, we can use those heavenly names, accepting that which God is giving, answering the love call of our God, and for the centering, there is the realization that we are responding, yielding to Yesu, letting go to the centering of Yehovah. Yesu, the centering on earth of Yehovah, until we begin to know the reality of God in action here below. The beauty and the wonder of it. Did you ever relax in the secret place of the Most High and simply say, Lord, here I am? If any of you have ever been what is called being in love, did you ever get tired of hearing your love say, I love you? The word was always new, always fresh. Do you think the Lord's going to get tired of hearing you say, Lord, I love you. Lord, here I am. My Lord, I love you. How about functioning the way a true bride would in yielding to the Lord our King? How about drawing near unto Him and receiving Him into ourselves, that we might begin to know the wonder and the beauty and the glory of the divine design on earth? Something so sacred, so sweet, so unspeakably glorious, that we can't paint it in words. We can say something about it, but if we would know it, we must yield to it and let it be a reality in us, here and now. So let's do something about it. Our Lord has offered His love for so long. Why put it off? Why play hard to get? Why say, you'll have to do all the work, Lord? If you ever get me, you're sure going to have to work for me. Why not make it easy? Why not yield to Him and serve Him? Why not be a part of the body of God?